Midday in Fresno, California. The landfill sprawls out under a relentless sun, air shivering with heat, everything bleached, dry, and harsh. Officer Ben Carpenter steps from his squad car, boots crunching on broken glass and grit. The stench hits him like a slap. Rotten produce, burnt plastic, something sour and heavy beneath it all. He tries to breathe through his mouth. Not that it helps. He's here on a tip. Illegal dumping. Most days it's mattresses or refrigerators, maybe the odd, abandoned car. Today, something's different. He hears it. A faint, metallic scraping. Then a sound so small it could be a memory. A muffled, desperate cry. He follows the sound through mountains of garbage. Sweat rolls down his neck, trickling under his collar. Every step sinks him deeper into filth, plastic bags clinging to his ankles, old fruit squelching underfoot. There, buried beneath bags and broken pallets, something rusted glints in the sunlight. A crate, padlocked and warped by the elements. Ben's heart stutters. As he kneels, his hand shakes. Not from fear, but a cold sense of déjà vu, the echo of childhood neglect that sometimes still crawls out at night. He grips the edge of the crate, pulls, and a white paw pokes through the bars, trembling, filthy, smeared with blood and muck. His breath catches. Inside, curled in on herself, is a German shepherd puppy, maybe 5 months old, fur matted and patchy, one ear flopped down in defeat. Her ribs show through her coat. She's silent, eyes huge and wild, but there's something in the way she watches him, as if hope is a trick she once believed in but has learned to fear. The puppy's breathing is shallow, almost invisible. Ben's throat tightens. He pulls his phone, radioing for backup, his voice steadier than he feels. "I need animal control and a rescue van at Fresno Landfill. Now. Possible cruelty case." While he waits, he runs a hand along the crate, scanning for an easy way in. His thumb finds something sharp carved into the metal. Words, scratched into the floor with desperate claws. She's kind. He stares at the message, mind racing. Who would do this? Why leave a note? Is it guilt, a warning, or something else, a last mercy maybe? The puppy's gaze never leaves him. She doesn't whimper, doesn't bark, just waits, as if measuring him, weighing his worth. Ben feels the sting of being measured and found wanting. Memories of being the quiet kid left on the playground when the world moved on. He forces the crate's latch. It won't budge, twisted by rust and heat. He grabs his crowbar, jams it under the edge, and levers with all his weight. The metal screeches, gives way. Carefully, he lifts the crate's door. The puppy doesn't move, too weak to do more than blink. Ben lowers himself to her level, gentle and slow. "Hey, it's okay. You're safe now." His voice, rough from lack of sleep, is softer than he expects. He holds out a hand, palm up, but she just stares, frozen between terror and hope. He slides an arm under her, careful not to touch the worst of her wounds. She's lighter than she should be, her body limp, head lolling against his chest. As he lifts her free, a wave of anger flares at whoever did this, at a world that could make kindness a risk. Ben cradles her, feeling the tiny thud of her heartbeat against his ribs. "You're not alone anymore," he murmurs. Behind him, a truck rattles into view. Maria Vasquez, director of Fresno Rescue Haven, hops out, eyes already narrowing in concern. "What do we have?" Ben shows her the puppy, the message. Maria sucks in a breath. "God, Ben, that poor thing. Get her in the van fast. She's on the edge." They move together, urgent, coordinated. Ben's strength and Maria's practiced care. As they lay the puppy on a clean towel, Maria checks her gums, shakes her head. Dehydration, starvation, trauma. We need to move. Ben lingers by the crate, staring at the words again. She's kind. It haunts him. The idea that someone, somewhere, saw something worth saving in this dog, even as they left her to die. Or maybe it's a plea, a last hope for mercy. As the van doors close, Ben looks back at the landfill, a wasteland that just hours ago held nothing but loss and decay. Now, it's become the start of something else. The beginning of a story he doesn't yet understand, but feels in his bones. As Maria pulls away, Ben stands alone in the heat. The memory of that trembling paw burned into his mind. He's seen too many endings. Today, he's decided, will be a beginning. The rescue van rockets through Fresno's sun-bleached streets. Maria hunched over the steering wheel, lips pressed thin. Ben sits in the back, cradling the German Shepherd puppy as the city blurs by. His uniform, normally crisp, is streaked with grime and blood. He doesn't care. Every few seconds, he checks the puppy's breathing, watching her chest barely rise, then fall, a fragile rhythm that could sputter out at any moment. The van hits a pothole. The puppy's head lolls, her eyes flutter. Ben flinches, memories crowding in. His own childhood hospital rides, the sense of hanging by a thread and praying someone, anyone, would notice. He whispers, "Hold on, kid. Just a little longer." Maria glances in the rearview. She's critical. "When we get there, straight to the med room. I'll prep the IV, you help keep her calm. You good with that?" Ben nods, jaw tight. He's done this with people before, never a dog. But the desperation is the same. He gently strokes the puppy's head. "You're gonna make it, Harley, I promise." They pull into Fresno Rescue Haven, a squat, sun-washed building on the city's edge. Maria swings open the van doors. 2 vet techs are waiting, faces tense. They lift the puppy, now dubbed Harley, onto a gurney, moving fast but careful. Ben walks alongside, unwilling to let go. Inside, cool air thick with antiseptic. The medroom hums with quiet urgency. Gloves snapping on, a digital thermometer beeping. IV bags unspooling clear lifelines. Maria checks Harley's temperature, curses under her breath. Too low, severe shock. She starts fluids, inserting a needle into the thin skin of Harley's leg. The puppy twitches, but doesn't resist. She's past fighting. "Broken claws," one tech notes. "Looks like she tried to dig her way out." Another tech lifts Harley's lip. "Teeth are ground down. She's been gnawing on the crate." Maria's eyes flash. Dehydrated, starved, maybe internal injuries. "We'll need x-rays." "Ben, keep talking to her." He does. He tells Harley about the best parts of the world, about grassy parks and gentle hands, about sunbeams on a hardwood floor, about second chances. As he talks, he realizes he's making promises he's never dared to believe for himself. Harley's paws twitch as if she's running from some nightmare. Ben lays his hand across her back. Her breathing slows, steadies, but she doesn't make a sound. Not a whimper, not a growl, just that silent, haunted gaze. Maria leans in. She's traumatized, not just physically. You see this sometimes with dogs locked away too long. They learn silence is safer than crying. Ben feels the weight of it, the same way he once learned not to call for help, to hide the bruises, to wait out the storms in his own house. He recognizes her fear because it once lived inside him. Hours pass in a slow, anxious drip. Fluids run through the IV. Maria checks Harley's vitals, frowning at the slow improvement. She's fighting, but it's going to take everything we've got. At one point, a local reporter calls. Word of animal cruelty spreads fast in a town starved for stories. Maria shoos them away, furious. She's not a headline, she snaps. She's a life. Ben never leaves Harley's side. Even when his shift ends and the sun dips below the horizon, painting the shelter windows gold, he sits in the hard plastic chair by her kennel. He listens to the distant barking of other dogs, the clang of metal bowls, the soft shuffle of feet on linoleum. He offers Harley water from his own hand, bits of boiled chicken Maria brings from the break room. Sometimes she licks his fingers, tongue dry as old paper. Sometimes she just stares, eyes half closed, suspended between worlds. Ben thinks of the words scratched into her crate. She's kind, and wonders if kindness can survive such cruelty, if any of them can. Maria joins him as dusk deepens. You've done more than most, Ben, but she's not out of the woods. He nods, exhausted but resolute. I'll stay. Someone needs to show her the world isn't all cages. A beat of silence passes, soft and heavy. Maria's gaze softens. Why do you care so much? She asks, not accusing, just curious. Ben shrugs, looking at Harley. Nobody should have to go through this alone, not her, not anyone. Night falls. The shelter quiets. Ben listens to Harley's breathing in the dark, remembering his own silent nights, the way hope can flicker, nearly snuffed, then blaze up again when someone finally sees you. As midnight nears, Harley shivers, her head sinking into a folded towel. Ben drapes his jacket over her, careful, protective. He murmurs, "You made it one more day, kid." The night nurse brings a battered stuffed fox, a toy rescued from the donation box. She tucks it beside Harley, and for a moment, the puppy's nose twitches. Her paw, white and still stained with blood, shifts just a little closer. Ben feels a fragile, foolish hope bloom in his chest. Harley's alive. She's still fighting, but the questions linger, gnawing at the edges of the silence. Is she too far gone? Did they get to her in time, or is this just another cycle, another creature broken by a world that moves on too fast? Ben refuses to let the story end that way. Not for Harley. Not this time. Morning seeps into the shelter in a slow, golden hush. The world outside begins to stir, trucks rattling down the street, a far-off siren wailing, sunlight slicing through the shelter's dusty windows. Inside, everything feels strangely suspended. The rows of kennels are quiet, only the occasional restless shift of paws or a tired sigh breaking the silence. Officer Ben Carpenter hasn't left. He spent the night in a stiff chair beside Harley's enclosure, his uniform jacket now a blanket across his lap. His eyes stinging from exhaustion, but too wired with worry to truly rest. The shelter smells of antiseptic, faint bleach, and the softer undertone of wet fur and cheap soap. The kind of smell you get used to when you're always fighting to keep despair at bay. Harley lies curled on a nest of old towels, her battered stuffed fox tucked beneath her chin. Her breathing is steadier now, though every rise and fall of her chest still feels like a test. She doesn't bark, doesn't whimper, doesn't even move unless absolutely necessary. Her eyes, enormous, dark, reflecting more than they reveal, follow every movement in the room, not out of curiosity, but out of habit, as if she expects the world to turn violent at any moment. Maria slips in, her steps careful, coffee steaming in a chipped mug. She kneels, gentle and measured, checking Harley's vitals. She made it through the night, Maria murmurs, relief hiding in the way her shoulders finally drop. That's a start. Ben doesn't respond. He just watches Harley, studying her stillness. He recognizes something in it. A way of surviving that's all about shrinking, about waiting for the worst to pass. It's a silence born from not being heard, a habit that's hard to break even when rescue finally comes. Other volunteers begin to arrive, their voices lowered out of respect. They peek in, some with sad smiles, some shaking their heads at the sight of such a small, shattered creature. Still, Harley doesn't react, not even when another dog barks, not when a bowl clatters to the floor. She flinches only once, the metallic slam of a door down the hallway sending a tremor through her frame. Ben notices, his heart clenching, the memory of every slammed door in his own childhood flickering through his mind. The day passes in slow, careful increments. Harley's wounds are cleaned again, her IV replaced with a smaller dose. Maria brings her a little food, hand-feeding her bland boiled chicken. Harley chews, barely, but accepts it, which is more than she did the day before. Ben sits with her, sometimes in silence, sometimes telling her stories he barely remembers, fragments of his past, or silly stories about other dogs he's known, about the stubborn stray that once followed him home and slept on his porch for a week. Sometimes he just talks about the weather, or the baseball game he wishes he could care about. Anything to fill the void, to let Harley know she's not alone. Hours drag by. Ben tries to leave, once, maybe twice, but he makes it only as far as the hallway before turning back. Something about the empty look in Harley's eyes makes walking away feel impossible. His badge, normally a comfort, feels heavy against his chest, a promise of protection he isn't sure he can keep. Maria sits beside him in the afternoon lull. She's exhausted too, lines deepening around her eyes. She doesn't bark, Maria says quietly, doesn't whimper. Most dogs cry for help, not her. Ben nods, thinking of the words carved into Harley's crate. She's kind. He wonders about the person who wrote it, the story behind it. Was it a warning? Or a desperate plea for mercy? He wonders if kindness can survive after so much silence. She's learned it doesn't matter if she cries, Maria continues, her voice barely above a whisper. Nobody ever came. They sit there a while, the silence as heavy as any words could be. Later, a battered clock ticks toward evening. Maria brings a new blanket for Harley, warm from the dryer. Ben gently tucks it around the puppy's small body. For a moment, Harley's nose twitches, a tremor of something like comfort. She doesn't move away. A volunteer places a note on Harley's kennel. No loud noises, be gentle, give space. As the day dies and the shelter grows quiet, Ben stays until the overhead lights flicker off one by one. He watches Harley sleep, if you can call it sleep, always tense, always halfway to awake. Ben thinks of his own insomnia, the way nightmares used to haunt him as a boy. He wonders if dogs dream about freedom, or just about survival. Before he finally leaves for the night, Ben slips a hand through the kennel bars. Harley doesn't move, but she doesn't flinch either. Progress, maybe. As he stands, badge cold against his chest, Ben feels the weight of the day settle into his bones. He glances back at Harley, her tiny form barely visible in the dim light, and makes himself a promise. He won't give up on her, no matter how long it takes. Outside, the Fresno night settles heavy and dark, but inside the shelter, the smallest flame of hope has started to flicker. By the next morning, the shelter has fallen into its gentle routine. Sunlight slices through the narrow windows, landing in bright squares on the linoleum floor. Most of the dogs greet the day with a restless anticipation, a chorus of barks and excited pacing. But Harley remains still, head tucked against her battered fox toy, only her eyes moving to track the shift in light and shadow across her kennel. Officer Ben Carpenter returns, a new cup of gas station coffee in hand, dark circles under his eyes betraying another night of restless sleep. He moves quietly, careful not to let the door slam. Maria gives him a tired but grateful nod as she unlocks the kennel, speaking in a soft, measured tone. She ate half her breakfast. She's keeping it down. It's good, Ben. Really good. But Ben can't help noticing the tension in Harley's body. A coiled spring, all muscle and memory. When the janitor rolls his mop bucket by, the puppy shudders, eyes wide, and tucks herself deeper into the corner, breath coming faster. She's not just frightened, she's haunted, every small sound pulling her back to the crate in the landfill. Later, Maria finds Ben staring at that same crate, now stowed away in a storage closet. The metal bars are bent, paint chipped and rusted. But what grabs him is the inscription. She's kind, etched so deeply that even time can't erase it. The words loop endlessly in his mind. Was this the last act of someone who cared, or a guilty plea for forgiveness? He presses his palm against the cool metal and remembers his own childhood, the endless waiting for a parent's kindness that almost never came. For Ben, Harley's fear is painfully familiar, the kind of vigilance that's bred by disappointment, the constant expectation of pain. He returns to Harley's side and tries to create a safe bubble in the chaos of the shelter. He dims the overhead lights, brings in a thick fleece blanket from his car, and makes sure the crate is locked away, out of sight, out of mind. Maria sees what he's doing and doesn't intervene. She's seen it before. Trauma survivors, human and animal alike, sometimes need rituals of reassurance to start believing in safety again. Around lunchtime, the shelter is visited by a potential adopter, a man with a gentle voice and a kind face, hoping for a companion for his own rescue dog. Maria walks him through the rows, introducing each candidate. When they come to Harley, the man crouches and tries to coax her closer with a treat. Harley doesn't move. Her eyes are full of confusion. She can't read his intentions, can't decide if kindness is a trap or a promise. Maria gently explains she's not ready yet. She needs more time. The man nods, understanding in his eyes. He moves on, but not before leaving the treat on the floor outside Harley's kennel. Harley ignores it. After the visit, Ben notices something different, a subtle change, a lessening in the tension around Harley's eyes. He sits beside her kennel and starts talking, voice low, sharing fragments of memory. He talks about the time his father brought home a stray, only for it to run away the next day. He talks about silence and what it teaches you about listening. The afternoon passes slowly. Ben reads reports on his phone, catching up on work. Every so often, he glances at Harley, who is starting to watch him more openly. She doesn't approach, but she doesn't shy away when he slips his hand through the bars. At one point, the shelter fills with noise, a heavy thud as someone drops a box, the sudden bark of an anxious dog, a raised voice in the lobby. Harley flinches hard, claws digging into her blanket. Her body pressed so tightly to the ground, it's as if she's trying to disappear. Ben acts quickly, turning off the lights above her, shielding her with his own body, whispering, "It's okay, it's over, you're safe." And in that moment, something breaks. Harley, after days of frozen silence, exhales, a long, shuddering sigh that seems to let go of 1,000 ghosts. Slowly, carefully, she rests her head against Ben's outstretched hand. She doesn't lick him, doesn't wag her tail, but the touch is a leap of faith. Maria sees it from across the room and smiles, blinking back tears. That's the first time she's let anyone touch her since she came in. Ben feels a tightness in his chest ease just a little. He stays with Harley until dusk, watching as she finally closes her eyes. body no longer rigid but soft, vulnerable. He realizes healing isn't a straight path. It's a series of small moments, pauses between storms. It's sighs instead of screams, a silent head resting in an open hand. As he prepares to leave, Ben checks the closet one last time to make sure the crate is still hidden. He locks the door and pockets the key. "You'll never see that thing again," he promises Harley, voice shaking with conviction. Walking out into the cooling night, Ben feels the first fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, this is the beginning of something new for both of them. A gentle stillness lingers over Fresno Rescue Haven the next morning, the kind that comes after a long storm. Harley wakes in her kennel, the fleece blanket Ben brought tucked close, the battered fox toy safe under her chin. Sunlight splinters across the floor, softening the edges of the world. For the first time since her rescue, Harley's sleep has been deeper, her breathing steady, the wildness in her eyes tempered by something new, cautious curiosity. Ben arrives as the shelter opens, shoulders sore from another night on the shelter cot. He moves quietly, careful with every sound, as if afraid to break whatever fragile peace has settled over Harley. His own heart beats with a familiar ache. He knows the territory of slow recoveries, the delicate work of building trust from nothing. Maria greets him with a gentle smile and a cup of coffee. "You're a fixture here now, officer," she teases, but her voice is warm. Ben only shrugs, his gaze never leaving Harley's enclosure. The first sign of real change comes in the smallest movement. As Ben settles beside her kennel, Harley shifts, inching closer instead of flinching away. Her nose twitches, ears pricking forward. Ben holds out his palm, low and unthreatening, and Harley, so hesitant, so careful, leans forward and sniffs his fingers. It isn't affection, not yet, but it's not fear either. Throughout the morning, Ben sits with her, reading case files and talking quietly about his day. He tells Harley about the city, the people he's helped and the ones he couldn't. He talks about the neighborhood kids who wave at his cruiser, about the gentle old lab who guards the bakery down the street, about his own sleepless nights, and the loneliness that sometimes creeps in around the edges. Harley listens, head cocked, silent but attentive. Maria brings breakfast, plain boiled chicken, cooled just enough. Ben tries to feed Harley by hand, and after a long hesitation, she takes a bite. Her jaw works slow and careful. Ben smiles, a real weary smile, the kind that's been missing from his face for too long. Later, the shelter fills with noise. A new litter of puppies tumbles in, yapping and yowling, shaking the air with wild energy. The chaos is too much. Harley's body stiffens, her tail tucks, and she bolts beneath the nearest table, trembling, eyes wide with terror. Ben drops to his knees beside her, voice calm, movements gentle. "It's okay, Harley. You're safe, I promise." He lays out her blanket in a sun-washed corner, as far from the commotion as possible, and sits nearby. Harley doesn't return to her kennel, but she does curl up on the blanket, paws wrapped tight around her fox toy. Maria watches the scene, her face softening. "She's starting to believe," she whispers. "Not all at once, but she's trying." Ben nods, knowing exactly what that feels like. To want to trust, to want to believe the world is changing, even as old instincts urge you to hide. He keeps coming back, day after day, bringing little things, a soft chew toy, a strip of bacon from his breakfast, a gentle word spoken into the hush of the afternoon. Sometimes he reads aloud, newspaper stories, old case notes, even a weather report. His voice is steady, a tether to the world beyond the shelter walls. Harley begins to sleep near his foot, curling closer as the days pass. She startles at loud sounds, still, but Ben notices she recovers faster each time. When a volunteer drops a metal bowl, Harley flinches, but instead of bolting, she presses her body against Ben's shoe, heart hammering but present. One afternoon, a brief drama erupts. Another dog, nervous and high-strung, snaps at a volunteer. Harley lifts her head, watching closely, but doesn't panic. Ben soothes her, murmuring, "Not every shout means danger." The words are meant for both of them. Maria joins them, kneeling at Harley's level. "She's different now," Maria says. "Look, she's following you with her eyes, Ben." She wags her tail. "That's a breakthrough." Sure enough, as Ben opens the kennel door, Harley's tail gives a single, uncertain wag. It's a flicker of hope, fragile, easily missed, but undeniable. In the evenings, as the shelter quiets, Ben sometimes finds Harley sitting by the door, waiting for him. She claims her battered fox toy, the first thing she's ever shown real possessiveness over, tucking it beneath her chin before drifting into sleep. Ben leaves a piece of his old sweatshirt in her kennel, a soft, worn comfort that carries his scent. The shelter community starts to notice. Volunteers pause to watch Harley's slow transformation. Even the other dogs seem to sense the change, offering her cautious space. Maria, always practical, keeps her optimism guarded, but allows herself a small, hopeful smile. Ben, alone at the end of another long day, sits beside Harley and lets his own guard down. He thinks about how pain is easier to share than joy, how scars, human or animal, can connect you to another being in a way nothing else can. He strokes Harley's fur, gentle and rhythmic. "We're in this together, girl," he murmurs. "Just keep taking small steps." Outside, the city keeps moving. Sirens, laughter, distant music. Inside, in a sun-warmed corner, a man and a dog begin to stitch together something fragile and new. And somewhere in the quiet, the question lingers. Will Harley ever find a place beyond survival, a home, a true bond? Ben holds on to hope, unwilling to let the answer be anything less than yes. A week later, a sense of cautious optimism hangs in the air at Fresno Rescue Haven. Harley has made small, steady progress. She eats without trembling, seeks out Ben's company, and even naps in the sunlight that pools on the shelter floor. The battered fox toy has become her talisman, always close. Yet a certain watchfulness remains, a hesitance at the edge of every new sound, every shadow that drifts too near. That morning, Maria ushers in a new pair of visitors, a woman in her 30s and a slender, silent girl. The woman introduces herself quietly. "Claire Turner, this is my daughter, Lily." Her voice is tired but gentle, threaded with worry. Lily, 10 years old, clings to her mother's sleeve, eyes wide and wary, mouth set in a quiet line. She doesn't speak. Maria explains, voice low, Lily hasn't talked since her father died in an accident last fall. Claire's hoping time with the animals might help. Ben is there, leaning against the counter, watching with a kind of empathetic ache. He remembers what silence can mean, the way grief makes everything feel too loud, too sharp. Lily glances around, gaze lingering on the louder dogs, their excited barking setting her nerves on edge. Ben notices Harley, silent and still in her corner, watching the girl with a focus that's almost human. Maria leads Claire and Lily through the rows of kennels, introducing the animals in soft, patient tones. Most of the dogs rush forward, pressing their faces to the bars, vying for attention. Lily recoils, pressing into her mother's side. But Harley doesn't move. She simply sits, her gaze fixed, tail curled tightly around her fox toy. Maria kneels beside Lily, speaking gently. Would you like to meet Harley? She's very quiet, just like you. Lily nods, almost imperceptibly. Ben unlocks Harley's kennel and opens the door. For a moment, Harley doesn't move. Then, as if sensing something unspoken, she pads forward, slow, deliberate, head low in greeting. She pauses at Lily's feet, looking up with wide, steady eyes. Lily stands frozen, uncertainty flickering across her face. Ben watches, heart pounding, as Harley sits beside the girl, not touching, just close. Slowly, Harley lifts her nose, nudging Lily's hand with the gentlest brush, an invitation, not a demand. Lily's fingers twitch, then settle on Harley's fur. A silent exchange passes between them, two beings marked by trauma, learning to trust the moment. Claire kneels down, tears shimmering in her eyes. She doesn't interrupt, afraid to break the fragile magic that's blossomed. Maria exchanges a glance with Ben, something hopeful, unspoken. Lily sinks down onto the floor, folding her legs beneath her. Harley moves with her, laying her head in Lily's lap. The girl's small hands tremble, then settle, fingers stroking the rough, matted fur behind Harley's ear. For the first time, Lily allows herself to cry. Not the wild sobs of fresh loss, but the quiet, aching tears that mean you're ready to begin healing. Harley stays perfectly still, taking the weight of those tears as if she understands. Maria and Claire watch from a respectful distance. That's the first time Lily's reached for anything in months, Claire whispers, voice cracking with relief and fear. She used to love animals before. Ben nods. Sometimes the broken find each other, and sometimes that's where healing starts. The shelter seems to hold its breath, time slowing to accommodate this moment. Other volunteers step softly, whispering when they need to pass by. Even the rowdier dogs seem subdued, sensing a change in the atmosphere. For the rest of the visit, Lily doesn't stray far from Harley's side. When the shelter staff offers her a tour, she declines, shaking her head, gaze never leaving the puppy. Harley, in turn, becomes her silent shadow, following her movements with calm, devoted focus. Ben notices the change, a new softness in Harley's posture, a gentleness in her eyes. She isn't just surviving. She's beginning to care, to connect, to hope. When Lily hugs her, burying her face in Harley's fur, the puppy doesn't flinch or shrink away. Instead, she leans in, offering warmth and wordless comfort. As the afternoon wears on, Claire approaches Maria. Do you think, would Harley be a good fit for us? Even with Lily's situation. Maria hesitates, considering. I can't think of a better match. Harley's gentle. She understands fear, and Lily seems to bring out something good in her. Claire smiles for the first time, a hesitant, grateful curve of her lips. We'd love to visit again. Maybe, if Harley is willing, we could try bringing her home just for a day. Ben's heart lifts, even as worry tugs at him. He knows how fragile both girl and dog still are. He kneels beside Harley, brushing her fur with his hand. You did good, kid. Real good. That night, after everyone leaves, Ben stays behind, replaying the day in his mind. He watches Harley sleep, curled around her fox toy, looking more peaceful than he's ever seen her. Outside, Fresno's city lights blink on one by one, but inside the shelter, it's the quiet bonds of hope and trust that illuminate the dark. A new question lingers in the air. Can two broken souls heal together, where neither could alone? Ben dares, for the first time, to believe that maybe the answer is yes. It's late spring when the real test arrives. Word of Harley's quiet recovery and her connection with Lily spreads quickly among the shelter staff and volunteers. Some of them, moved by Harley's story, post photos and updates online, hoping to attract donations for the rescue haven. Others simply want to see the little German shepherd finally find a home. But nothing in the shelter is ever straightforward. One bright, breezy afternoon, as Ben arrives at the shelter, Maria meets him at the door, her expression troubled. "There's a new family here. They saw Harley's photo and want to meet her." Ben's stomach tightens. He glances toward Lily, who's in the playroom drawing quietly, Harley curled at her side like a shadow. The girl hasn't said a word, but her small hands never leave Harley's fur. Ben can feel the anxiety radiating off her. Maria pulls Ben aside. "The adoption committee says we should give every family a fair shot. They're worried about showing favoritism." "I get it, Ben, but..." She looks over her shoulder at Lily. "I just wish things didn't have to be so procedural." The new family, a couple and their teenage son, arrive with hopeful smiles, arms full of dog treats and toys. They kneel and call for Harley, offering biscuits, squeaky balls, cheerful voices. Harley looks at them, ears back, body tense. She takes a step toward them, then glances over her shoulder, eyes searching for Lily. Lily sits, frozen, clutching Harley's leash so tightly her knuckles go white. Her gaze flicks between the family and the dog, panic blooming in her chest. Claire, her mother, puts a reassuring arm around her, but Lily only holds on tighter. Ben kneels beside Harley, whispering, "It's okay. You get to choose." The family tries coaxing Harley again. She approaches, sniffing the son's hand, but her tail doesn't wag. Instead, she looks past them, right at Lily. With a quiet whine, Harley backs away, pressing herself into Lily's side, her whole body speaking one word: "No." The room falls silent. The hopeful family looks disappointed, confusion clouding their faces. Maria gently explains, she's been through a lot. Sometimes animals, they just know where they belong. But the committee insists. "It's only fair," one member says. "Let's give it a little more time, see how she reacts." They try again the next day. This time, Lily can barely breathe. When the new family enters, Harley's entire demeanor changes. Ears flat, muscles bunched, tail tucked. She won't let anyone but Lily near her. At one point, the teenage boy tries to snap a leash onto Harley's collar. Instantly, Harley pulls away and darts behind Lily, eyes wild with fear. That's when something shifts in Lily. She stands up, placing herself between Harley and the family, her entire body trembling but unmoving. In a voice small and hoarse from months of silence, she manages to say, "She's my friend." The words are so soft they barely register. But Ben hears, so does Claire, who gasps and claps a hand to her mouth. Maria's eyes go wide with hope. Lily repeats it, louder this time. "She's my friend. Please, don't take her." The committee members are stunned. One of them, a woman with gentle eyes, nods and says quietly, "That's all we needed to hear." Ben can barely keep his composure. Harley licks Lily's hand, tail giving a small, hopeful wag. It's not just relief, it's gratitude, pure and simple. Claire hugs her daughter, tears streaming down her face. Maria grins, her fierce pride shining through. "You did it, Lily. You really did." The family, understanding at last, thank everyone and leave, their disappointment fading in the face of something bigger, an unbreakable bond, clear as day. That night, after the shelter closes, Ben stays behind to help Maria file the paperwork. "Harley made her choice," Maria says, her voice thick. "We'd be fools to ignore it." Ben nods, thinking about how loyalty can't be forced or faked. It's something that grows in the dark, in the hardest places, and then shines all the brighter. He strokes Harley's fur, feeling her heartbeat slow and steady beneath his hand. Before he leaves, Ben checks in on Lily and Harley, curled together on a pile of blankets in the playroom. He sits down beside them, feeling an unfamiliar peace. "Hey, Lily," he says softly. "You did something really brave today." Lily doesn't answer, but she doesn't have to. The way she clings to Harley, the soft look in her eyes, says it all. As Ben locks up the shelter and steps out into the cooling air, he feels the weight of old fears begin to lift, replaced by hope, by the knowledge that sometimes, when you face the past head-on, you find something stronger waiting for you. Inside, Harley and Lily sleep side by side, two survivors no longer alone. For the first time, the future feels like a door swinging open, bright with possibility. The shelter seems to exhale in collective relief after the decision is made. Harley will go home with Lily and Claire. No more uncertainty. No more tests. There's a shift in the air, a subtle brightness that colors every interaction, as if everyone can finally believe in happy endings, if only for today. On the morning of the adoption, Ben arrives early, a bundle of nerves and pride coiled in his chest. He's not on duty. Not really. This isn't about a badge or a case, but about a promise kept to a silent dog and a hurting child. Maria is bustling around, filling out paperwork and making sure everything is perfect. Claire helps Lily gather Harley's few belongings, a worn blanket, the battered fox toy, and a bag of treats. Lily stands quietly in the middle of the lobby, her hands trembling just a little, the leash looped carefully in her palm. Harley sits by her side, eyes steady, posture calm. She senses the importance of this day. Even as strangers come and go, the fear that once ruled her every movement has faded, replaced by trust. When it's time, Ben kneels to fasten Harley's new collar, a deep blue with a brass name tag that glints in the morning sun. "You earned this, kid," he murmurs, giving Harley a gentle scratch behind the ear. Harley presses her head against his hand for a moment, a gesture of understanding, a silent thank you. The shelter staff gathers by the door, offering hugs, high fives, and a few misty-eyed smiles. Maria wipes her eyes with the back of her hand. "You're a hero, Harley, and so are you, Lily." Lily smiles, the smallest, brightest smile Ben has ever seen from her. She reaches for Maria, hugging her tight, then turns and looks up at Ben. There's something new in her gaze, an unspoken gratitude, a spark of the confidence she thought she'd lost. Ben lifts Harley into Claire's car, careful not to jostle her or drop the precious fox toy. Lily scrambles into the back seat, holding her dog close. As the car pulls out of the parking lot, Harley looks back through the rear window, her eyes meeting Ben's. She's not lost anymore. There's clarity in her gaze, a peace that's been hard-won. The sun, hidden for most of the week, finally breaks through the clouds. Light spills across the parking lot, illuminating everything in a warm, golden haze. Ben stands there for a long moment, letting the weight of it settle. He's known too many stories that ended in heartbreak, too many second chances that never came. This is different. This is hope realized. That night, Claire sends Maria and Ben a short video. In it, Lily sits on the living room floor, Harley curled in her lap. The house is quiet except for the sound of Lily's voice, shaky at first, then growing steadier as she reads a picture book out loud. "Once upon a time," Lily whispers, her words soft but sure, "there was a dog who was never alone again." Harley watches her, tail wagging, every muscle relaxed, the fox toy resting between her paws. Ben watches the video over and over, feeling something in his chest unclench. He sits in his small apartment, the badge on his nightstand, thinking of all the nights he'd spent searching for purpose, for proof that his work mattered. Tonight, he knows. Sometimes, the smallest rescue can change everything. The days that follow bring more small miracles. Harley explores her new home, sniffing every corner, learning the rhythm of household sounds, following Lily from room to room. The first time she runs in the backyard, her movements are stiff, uncertain. By the end of the week, she's bounding across the grass, her coat brighter, tail high. At night, she curls at the foot of Lily's bed, guarding her dreams. Claire texts Maria updates, photos of Harley and Lily at the park, sleeping side by side, sharing ice cream on the porch. Each image is a testament to the bond that's grown between them, to the healing that runs both ways. Maria shares the news at the shelter, and even the most cynical volunteers smile. They remember the trembling puppy in the rusted crate, the girl who wouldn't speak, and they see the transformation that kindness has made possible. The story spreads, first through word of mouth, then on social media, until people all over Fresno are rooting for Harley and Lily. One afternoon, Ben visits. Harley greets him at the door, tail wagging, no longer fearful of new faces. Lily runs to hug him, chattering about school, about how Harley sits beside her during homework and chases butterflies in the yard. Ben listens, grinning, pride and relief shining in his eyes. Before he leaves, Ben kneels beside Harley, stroking her fur. "You did it, girl. You both did." As the sun sets, painting the sky in hues of orange and gold, Ben stands at the edge of the yard, watching the small family, Lily laughing, Harley at her side, Claire watching them with tears of joy. The question that once haunted him, what will healing look like, finally has an answer, not in words, but in moments like these, quiet, ordinary, extraordinary. The weeks that follow are quiet, gentle, and golden, the kind of days that seem unremarkable to the world, but mean everything to the people and animals living them. Harley settles into her new life with Lily and Claire like sunlight soaking into worn wood, gradually filling the cracks. Where once she flinched at every loud sound, now she only lifts her head, reassured by the familiar voices that fill the little house. The battered fox toy, her talisman, never leaves her side. Every morning, Lily wakes early, tiptoes past her mother's room, and finds Harley waiting by the door. They walk together down the block, Lily's hand buried deep in Harley's fur, drawing comfort from the warmth and the quiet, sturdy presence. Neighbors wave, a bus driver honks. The world feels a little less sharp, a little more inviting. At school, Lily blossoms. At first, her words are few, quiet, sometimes faltering. But Harley waits for her every afternoon at the gate, tail swishing, eyes bright. Soon, Lily's voice grows steadier. She tells her teacher about her dog, about their adventures, about how Harley saved her too. The other kids, curious at first, grow to admire the bond between girl and dog. Lily is invited to birthday parties. She shares her snacks at lunch. Laughter returns to her voice, awkward and unpracticed, but real. Harley's transformation is just as remarkable. Where once she was skeletal, her fur patchy and eyes haunted, now she is strong, gleaming, her coat glossy in the sun. She runs at the park, chasing birds and rolling in grass, always careful never to stray far from Lily. The shelter staff visits sometimes, and Maria brings treats and hugs. "You're a miracle, Harley," she says, "and you gave us all hope." Claire, too, finds healing. She decorates Lily's room with drawings of dogs and horses, she starts baking again, filling the house with warmth. On weekends, she sits with Lily and Harley in the backyard, drinking coffee while they play, letting the peace of their small family settle deep. Ben visits often, always welcomed with excited barks and Lily's quick chatter. The little apartment where he once nursed old wounds feels less lonely now, more like a launching pad than a retreat. He brings stories of his day, silly calls, new dogs at the shelter, memories of his own battered childhood, and how sometimes rescue comes in forms you don't expect. One sunny Saturday, Ben sits on the porch with Claire, watching Lily and Harley chase bubbles across the lawn. Harley leaps into the air, teeth snapping playfully, Lily's laughter ringing out like music. "She's not the same dog," Claire says, voice soft. "None of us are the same." Ben nods, feeling the truth of it deep in his bones. "We rescue each other," he says. "It's never just one way." At the park, Harley draws attention. Her confidence, her beauty, the unwavering way she shadows Lily. An elderly neighbor, Mrs. Sandoval, pauses on her morning walk, leaning on her cane. "That's a good dog," she says, "and a brave girl, sometimes." Ben is struck by how ordinary everything feels, how the daily routines and simple joys, once impossible, now fit together so naturally. But beneath the surface, he sees the threads of survival and trust woven into every moment. He thinks about the parallel wounds, his own, Lily's, Harley's, about how each of them carried grief like an invisible weight. Now, they are lighter, not because the pain is gone, but because it is shared, understood, and transformed. On the anniversary of Harley's rescue, Maria organizes a small gathering at the park. Volunteers, neighbors, and friends gather with their own rescue dogs, laughter mingling with stories of loss and hope. Harley is the star. Children pet her, adults ask about her journey, and Lily, shy but proud, tells them about the day she found her voice. Later, as the sun dips low, Ben sits beneath a tree, watching Harley and Lily napping in the grass. Maria joins him, sharing a thermos of sweet tea. "You know," she says, "people always think rescue is about saving an animal, but really, it's about saving ourselves too." Ben nods, his heart light. "Harley showed me that. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let someone in." As dusk settles, Claire gathers her small family for home. Harley walks close, tail wagging, head held high. Lily slips her hand into Ben's, whispering, "Thank you for finding her." Ben squeezes her fingers, voice thick. "Thank you for giving her a home." That night, Ben lies in bed, replaying the day, the laughter, the quiet gratitude, the countless small victories. He realizes true rescue isn't a moment or a headline. It's 1,000 daily choices, to listen, to wait, to believe in second chances. The safe harbor they've built isn't just for Harley, it's for all of them. He thinks of the lesson he never learned as a boy, the one he now sees in Harley's eyes. The greatest gift you can give is a safe place to land, and the patience to let someone heal at their own pace. And in that quiet, hope becomes a habit. For Ben, for Lily, for Harley. A year passes, and the story of Harley and Lily spreads beyond their neighborhood, beyond Fresno, echoing in the hearts of people who need reminders that hope is real. On a bright spring morning, the city holds a community event at Roding Park, celebrating rescue animals and the people who fight for second chances. Balloons drift above tents decorated with paw prints. Children squeal, chasing puppies through the grass. Harley stands near the main stage, her new collar gleaming, battered fox toy still faithfully in tow, a symbol of the journey from darkness to belonging. Ben, now a guest of honor, feels a quiet pride as he watches Lily, her hair in a braid, cheeks rosy, voice clear and strong. Take Harley's leash and step into the sunlight. Claire stands beside her, beaming, her arm around Ben's shoulder. The three of them look like a family, even if the world never would have expected it. Maria takes the microphone, her voice carrying across the crowd. A year ago, a little dog named Harley was found abandoned at the edge of our city. She was silent, afraid, nearly lost. But someone saw her, not just her suffering, but her kindness. That kindness saved more than one life. It brought a broken family back together. It reminded us what rescue really means. People wipe away tears. Even the most stoic officers from the police department, Ben's colleagues, are moved. Harley sits calmly at Lily's feet, her posture relaxed, her eyes alive. Children flock to pet her. She greets them all gently, never flinching, her trust in people restored one small act at a time. As the event unfolds, Ben is approached by parents, teachers, and kids, all curious about Harley, eager to share their own stories of loss and hope. He finds himself offering comfort, advice, sometimes only a listening ear. Maria watches, smiling, then sidles up beside him. "You should come speak to our next training class, Ben. People need to know rescue is more than paperwork and policies." He laughs, but his answer is serious. "I'd like that. Maybe it'll remind a few folks that courage isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just sitting quietly with someone until the storm passes." Nearby, artists unveil a mural painted on the park's west wall. It's Harley, front and center, strong, beautiful, eyes full of life, with the phrase, "She's kind," painted in bold script above her head. Kids add their own handprints along the bottom, a living reminder that small acts ripple out, changing the world in ways you can't predict. The mayor gives a short speech, then presents Lily and Claire with a plaque honoring their resilience. Harley receives a new medal for her collar, a small, shining disc engraved with a single word, "Beloved." Lily giggles and hugs her dog tight, whispering secrets into her ear. Harley licks her face, tail sweeping the grass. As the afternoon wanes, Ben walks through the festival, greeting friends old and new. He chats with Lily's teacher, who tells him how much Lily has grown, how she now helps shy kids at school, how she started reading aloud to the kindergarten class, Harley always by her side. She tells everyone that kindness is the bravest thing, the teacher says. "That's your legacy too, officer." Ben feels a deep peace. The wounds of his childhood, the lonely nights and silent longing for someone to notice. They don't disappear, but they no longer define him. He's learned, through Harley and Lily, that brokenness is not the end of the story. The world may be harsh, but it is also filled with small miracles. Each act of patience, each open door, each gentle word a torch passed on. As dusk falls, families pack up, laughter and goodbyes drifting through the park. Claire, Lily, and Harley head home together, hands and paws entwined. Maria and Ben linger by the mural, watching the colors deepen in the fading light. "You ever think you'd end up here?" Maria asks, nudging him gently. Ben smiles, quiet and real. "Not in a million years, but I wouldn't trade a single step of the journey." He looks at Harley, at the crowd dispersing, at the mural that will outlast them all. The world keeps abandoning the vulnerable, but kindness, real, simple kindness, is the most courageous act there is. Harley proved that. Maria nods, her voice soft. Rescue isn't just about saving a life. Sometimes it's about letting yourself be saved right back. That night, Harley sleeps curled at the foot of Lily's bed, the fox toy pressed against her heart. Ben sits at home, window open to the Fresno night, the words, "She's kind," echoing in his thoughts. The story doesn't end here. It lives in every hand that reaches out, in every child who learns that suffering doesn't define you, in every person brave enough to hope again. Even the smallest, kindest acts, removing a cage, offering a hand, can change the course of many lives. No being is defined by their suffering, but by their will to heal and the love they are shown. And as Ben drifts to sleep, he knows Harley's legacy isn't just a story told at a park. It's a light that shines on, growing brighter each time someone chooses courage, patience, and the healing power of simple kindness.